What's going on? What's going on, everybody? You already know what time it is. This is your boy, the historian. We're going ahead and getting ready to hit you up with bumper to bumper this afternoon. We got a few things that's going on that we're going to talk about while we're in this afternoon traffic. So hopefully your day is going well. Sit back, relax. I got you covered. And I might have a special guest coming through. Let's go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Miles Garrett has finally flipped his lid and he's ready to move on and actually have an opportunity to play for a winner. I mean, Cleveland has had winning seasons while he's been there, but guess what? They have really not made any moves to try to even address the quarterback situation. They had Deshaun Watson, that didn't work out. They go to the playoffs with Joe Flacco. I mean, Miles Garrett's been there for 8 years. He's looking for a new opportunity, and not just an opportunity. He's looking for a chance to actually win a Super Bowl if he can. Now, when you really sit back and you look at this whole situation, it would behoove the Atlanta Falcons to talk to him. But that's not going to happen because their general manager for Cleveland is definitely not trying to bang the table and listen to any opportunities to even entertain Miles Garrett leaving Cleveland. But if he were to leave Cleveland, you have to look at what you would have to give up. You'd have to give up a first round pick this year and also in 2026 to land a guy of that caliber. However, if you look at the trade-off on that, you have a veteran player that is already established in the league, understands how to play, knows how to play, and then not just that, you also have to look at the fact that he's in a situation to where he can change a few things. I got my special guest in the traffic jam with me today. What's going on, Big Scoop?
Hey man, can you hear me?
Perfectly. I got you perfect, man. What's up?
Hey man, I'm just I'm trying to listen in on this good information that you're finna provide us.
Well, here's the thing, bro. You have a chance to bring in a Miles Garrett. And if you can, now the Cleveland Browns GM is saying that he's not going to entertain that, but we all know money talks, BS walks. In the case of money, we're looking at the fact that you're going to have to give up at least 2 first rounders, or you have an option that a lot of people aren't going to talk about. It's a package deal that you could pass. You might not agree with it, but here's the other thing. They need a quarterback right now. You can give them a Kirk Cousins at this point. They need somebody to be there. But to sweeten the deal, you throw in the Kyle Pitts with it if they entertain it. Just saying. It's a lot of opportunity in that situation if Terry doesn't want to just throw out first-round picks like that. But if you do bring Miles Garrett in and you do get rid of the first-round pick, you have to look at the fact that free agency is an opportunity to bring in some talent on the defensive side of the ball. Defense has to be a priority this year. That and getting another right tackle at this point. How do you feel about that? And that was a hypothetical situation because Miles Garrett already wants to leave Cleveland, but the general manager is not trying to entertain that with 2 years left on that contract. How do you feel about that?
So this is a situation with Terry where, you know, I haven't been as hard on Terry as most Falcon fans because I think as far as like free agency and trades go, he's been pretty consistent and pretty successful. Like you ain't gonna hit on every pick, you're not gonna hit on every signing. But this right here is a situation that's finna test Terry out because we've been missing out on like the Montez Sweat situation, and other pass rushers in the past where we've been outbidded. And this is a situation now where, hey man, the chips is in. And honestly, this is year 4 that we didn't make the playoffs under his regime.
Yep,
if that's the case, he needs to go for the gusto, man. Just you gotta put all your chips in the table in the middle and go for it.
I agree with you on that because it's not like he hasn't made moves to attempt to grab some talented players to come to Atlanta on the defensive side of the ball. He just, unfortunately, Judon was like a Roman candle. It lit for a while, had flashes, and then boom, it just went out. But when you sit back and you look at the fact that he went after a Justin Simmons, who was a top safety at one point, and you saw the diminishing skills. Maybe it was because he didn't understand the playbook. But this year, it really looked like he had a lot of diminishing skills at this point. And Terry swung for the fences and literally struck out twice with these guys. But you also got to look at Kirk Cousins. He had us with a 3-game division lead before he started playing bad, and it just went off the rails from that point. So he really had 3 strikes this year, and he struck out this year. We missed the playoffs, and at this point, you've got to do everything you can at this point to save your job. If you don't get Myles Garrett, you've got to at least hit a home run in the first round, or what you got to do is trade back. Get as many picks as you can. And once you get all those picks, you literally have to trust your scouting department at that point. And I've said the scouting department doesn't impress me in a lot of ways because they've missed on a ton of talent. But this is a chance of redemption for these guys. They still in the doghouse with me. But if they get if they get the part of being able to have better talent coming into Atlanta to help us win, I think that's a win-win for everyone, but especially Terry if he wants to save his job, because we haven't heard anything about an extension this year. Not yet. Maybe we might after February, but at this point, we haven't heard even anything remotely about him being in Atlanta for an extended period of time.
And that should concern Terry, especially if there haven't been talks about it. I'm not big on the draft picks. The reason being is because if you look at any franchise, I mean, you can look at Kansas City right now. Like they've been a little lucky. Philly been a little lucky as far as draft picks over the years. But for most franchises, like if you have 12 picks, the probability of all 12 hitting is like close to 0%. So I'm not real big on that. Like you'll see majority of the NFL rosters right now are built on undrafted free agents. I just want good players. It's just as simple as that. Like I'm not concerned about the draft picks. I'm more concerned about the talent in the room, because a draft pick means absolutely nothing to me. It just means that you got drafted. It don't mean that you can play. Because we done seen a lot of them come through Atlanta that have been draft picks, and you've been wondering, like, why are they drafted?
And it's funny when you sit back and say that, because we can say that about a couple of first-round picks we've had within the last regime and in this regime. But as you said before, the undrafted free agent side of the house, you have to tap into. You see what's on my head, right? I told you, I support all HBCUs. The only one that I'm not supporting is Grambling. I talk about them, but I will never wear any Grambling paraphernalia. Shout out to Delaware State and their boy, Deshaun Jackson down there getting it right. I will never wear Grambling stuff. Look, wearing Grambling paraphernalia for me, loving the Southern Jaguars, is like us rocking a New Orleans Saints cap or a jersey or a T-shirt. It just ain't happening. That's just how that is. Now, getting to it, when you really sit back and look at it, and we're gonna get to it, the Senior Bowl was literally littered with talent this year. So there's no way that you should miss out on anything right now at this point. At all. At all. There's no way that you should miss out on anything at this point. And when you really look at everything that's going on, I just look at it as, I got you, bro. And I look at it as one of these things where we sit back, and as my man Scoop was saying, he had to step out. He popped in for a sec. You look at all the talent that was there. Jack Bech, he had a hell of a game. Unfortunately, he lost his brother within New Orleans or whatnot to that tragic terrorist attack. And this young man put everything, all his hurt, pain, and everything into it, and said, my brother will want me to play. And he ends up becoming the game MVP, catching the walk-off touchdown. And he was a monster at TCU. Now, He's a guy that improved his stock this week. Another guy that improved his stock the whole weekend was Mike Green out of North Texas. And when you look at it, he was definitely a guy that turned a lot of heads. Now, the other guy that I'm going to continue to keep preaching on is my boy Carson Vincent out of Alabama A&M, home of Decatur's own Mr. Robert Mathis, who had a hell of a career himself in the NFL. He blocked and did everything he could. We're talking about a guy that can play on every position on that line. You got to start looking at your replacements at this point. And when you see so many of these things that are happening and you look at so many of these players, one of the best safeties that was there that whole weekend was Dan Jackson out of University of Georgia. He got the best safety grade out of anybody that was there. So with the way that the Shrine Bowl has played out, with the way that the Senior Bowl played out, and then you got the Legacy Bowl coming up, the HBCU Senior Bowl. You got so many opportunities to scout the last little bit of talent that you might have not even had your eyes fixated on. And this is an opportunity for Terry and his regime to bring in some better talent, to bring in some guys that are hungry. No, I'm gonna go ahead and for once I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to be a little bit politically incorrect when I say this. I don't want guys that are hungry. No. I want guys that are hungry. HONGRY, hungry, to the point to where you're starving just to even be on a practice facility. You're starving to be on that field. You're starving to have respect. You're starving to get that money. But at this point, the way that the Falcons are going, we don't know. We know we had some representatives that were there, but the question is, what players are they looking at? Which direction are they going? But at this point, we've got to really nail the defense if you're not going to be able to get any high round draft picks in that defensive spot, especially if you trade back and you decide to get more picks. This is one of the things we were saying when we talk about scouting. Now, apparently there's a scandal going out right now. I don't have all the info on just yet. I'm going to make sure I get all the information on it concerning the New Orleans Saints. Does it shock you at all that they're involved in a scandal at this point? And they're trying to keep it hush-hush. But as a great Falcons content creator, I couldn't put myself, and I'm not even saying I'm great, because what makes you great is the fact that you work hard. Now, I'm going to say this here. All the great Falcon content creators that are out there, let's go ahead and talk about it. The Saints and the scandal, child pornography, and a few other things that we're going to dive deeper into on Thursday. But just know it's ugly right now. And they're going to do everything they can to tuck their tails and hide it. It's bad. The last time you saw a scandal like this, you saw it with the Washington Commanders, with Dan Snyder. And then you had John Gruden that was mixed up in it. So at the end of the day, I look at it like this. There are so many things that are going on, and here's what makes it even bad. They have the church involved. I'm going to have more information on y'all. I'm going to have more information for you guys this week on that. But just know that the Saints are in the scandal right now. That is one of the worst things that could happen, and everybody is going to know about it. Now, depending on how many people they're going to pay off and depending on how bad it's going to be, how can I put it? If you got Jerry Jones money, you can really make this stuff go away. If you got Jerry Jones type money. But if you don't, it's gonna sting you just like this hornet did. Like this hornet looks like it's about to sting somebody on my hat. That's what it's looking like right now. So at this point, you're trying to figure out why they don't have a head coach. Guess what? This information hits the surface. That's probably why we don't see a head coach in New Orleans just yet. Why would you want to step into a situation that's already downhill from there? The floor looks like the ceiling right about this point. And again, it's just what it is. But speaking of L's, for my college fans out here, the Ohio State Buckeyes have taken 2 L's this week. 2 of their coaches are now heading to the NFL. And these two coaches were very important in orchestrating the national championship run that they had. Chip Kelly is officially going to be an offensive coordinator for once rival Pete Carroll, and he's getting double of what he got at Ohio State. He's getting what he was going to get at UCLA. But the difference is he doesn't have to recruit, and he's now going to be an offensive coordinator there. So with him being an OC, maybe he might have learned how to run the tempo of an offense. And all I can say is he probably has some things that he's got to take care of on the loose end side of things and get him a quarterback. Because at this point, you got Pete Carroll, you have Brock Bowers, you have pieces on that team. All you can do now is just wonder if he's gonna screw this up like he did San Francisco or he did with the Raiders. I'm sorry, the Eagles or the 49ers. Let me make sure I get that right. He just got to the Raiders. So that's something. Then you got to also look at the fact that the defensive line coach, and he's a defensive assistant coach, Alan Clark, is leaving for the Houston Texans. We ended up getting the defensive line coach from the Texans or whatnot, so they had to get a replacement. This man literally helped orchestrate that pass rush. He helped develop the young man that we have on our team, Mr. Zach Harrison. He was there for a while. So we have coaches that are moving up for greener pastures. But the other thing is, a lot of coaches now, they're going to move up because they don't want to deal with NIL. They don't want to deal with children that have money and that have bad attitudes. That is something that you actually have to keep an eye out for at this point. So he's going to the Texans. They already have players. The question is he going to take what our coach already has done and take it to another level? Because apparently you saw DeMeco Ryans wasted no time in getting rid of people down in Houston after one bad year. He's not playing. And the sad part about it is we don't have cutthroat people in the Falcons organization that don't mind taking the hiatus for that. We don't. Until we get somebody in the office that's cutthroat, that does not mind firing people and is not afraid of the repercussions of doing so, we're going to always continue to have issues that we do. So this year, it's either do or die for a lot of people in this front office, and also with the coaching staff. It's a lot of people that's in a do or die situation. So at this point, all you can do is put yourself in a position to make things continue to keep going in a positive light. Because, man, at this point, all you can do is just shake your head. Now, the other issue that we have with the Falcons at this point is really seeing which direction we're going to go in a draft, which direction we're going to go in. Because at this point, the draft is going to tell you how serious they are about the season. So, saying all that to say this, we're seeing many other teams make front office moves. They're making personnel moves. Right now, we're just sitting back. Maybe after February, we're going to see some personnel moves. We're going to see some things change. But until then, right now, we're sitting dormant. We're not making any, outside of the coaches that we brought in. They're not going to put all of their information out there right now. They're not going to air the dirty laundry. They're not going to put things out there. But we're going to see. We're going to see. Because at this point, all you can do is just hope that this team gets it together. And the way that we're going to have to get it together is by winning. We can make all the moves in the world that we want. We can bring everybody in here. But if we're not able to develop the talent that is already here and add to that and bring the best out of the players that are here and have an opportunity to do some things, it's going to be the same results. We're going to be sitting here talking like this next year. And my thing is, the expectation I put on this team is to win ball games. That is the expectation that I put on this team. Now, The thing that I won't put on this team is expectations to make stuff right or make stuff happen a certain way. Because at this point, all you can do is hope that things get better. Because at this point, all you're doing right now is a mute point right now. All us crying and complaining about it, it's not going to change anything. The only thing that we can do is really make things better by, you know what? The hell with it. Let's continue to keep supporting this team. Let's continue to put ourselves in a position to where when we make noise or we stop spending money a certain way, that gets their attention. Because it's a few things that people don't understand that work in this country. And I'm not going to get political, but for a split second, I have to. Loss of finances, loss of property, loss of life. Learn that long. It hurts. So at this point, we can hurt fine. You've got to be able to hurt them financially because you're not going to hurt their feelings by saying things here and there. You've got to start looking at the fact that the money you spend on the paraphernalia, the money you spend at these games on the foam fingers, all the items and all this here, they're literally getting their money back. You're literally putting yourself in a position to where it's really still helping them. So until we can figure out how to have our voices heard, changes are made. You have to understand that ways that you can get your point across and stop giving up that money. Still go to games, but stop giving up that extra money because we give enough of it just for tickets, just to go to the game, parking, and everything else that falls under the above. Now, that was the little bit of a fan rant that I had to go on for a sec so I can make sure my point was across. But getting back to the football side of things, speaking of linemen, Tony Baselli, former offensive lineman for the Jacksonville Jaguars, now is pretty much a vice president of player personnel in the Jaguars franchise. It's crazy that other franchises understand not only making former players ambassadors, but you put them in positions to assist your team with trying to win. When are we going to make this happen in Atlanta? When are we going to make this happen in Atlanta? That's the question. You have Chuck Smith that should have been here coaching this defensive line. You should have had Terrence Mathis with an opportunity as a wide receiver coach, or even Roddy White. There are many ways that you can bring people in to help this organization. You bring in guys that have been in this organization. Shout out to Mr. Billy White Shoes Johnson because he's been doing his thing for years with the Falcons, Buddy Curry, and then also Mr. Bobby Butler, former Falcon legends. But we've got to start bringing some of these younger guys that we grew up watching or guys that are retired that can relate to some of the younger folks as well. At this point, not saying you're retiring, but you find positions for your older players. If you got guys that have coaching pedigrees and that have played here and they understand the ball game and they can relate to young men that are coming into a situation where they've got money, they've got access to so many things, you want to bring somebody in here that's been here before because they can help navigate these guys. So many positive things that we can do. I know I ran on all the negative stuff. I bring out the information for you guys, but the thing that we must start doing is bringing former players back into this franchise. We have to change the culture here in Atlanta. That is something. Being in the Ring of Honor is cool, but if you want to bring culture into Atlanta and start something over, start bringing these older guys in here who understood what it meant to be a Falcon. And some of the guys that played for the Falcons went elsewhere and had better careers. Guess what? Bring them back. Let them bring some of the things that they've learned from other organizations here to make us successful. So all I'm saying is at this point, we already know Cleveland's not going to give up the draws for Myles Garrett. They're pretty much going to play hardball, but you're going to have to give up something to get him. Then you have, as I said, college coaches on the move coming to the NFL, going to the NFL, and literally just saying, the hell with this recruiting stuff. I'm just going to make this money and I can just coach. If I want to get rid of a player, I can just cut a player. I don't have to worry about a scholarship. I don't have to worry about an NIL deal. I can be done with it. And then you're seeing front office personnel move up. And here's something else, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna give you this. The Houston Texans, if you hadn't paid attention, have a chance to add another weapon to Houston at this point because Tank Dell has been injured and he's had a lot of things happen to him, from being shot to destroying his knee. He's had a lot happen to him. They're actually looking into, as a report from yesterday, looking into bringing DK Metcalf over to the Texans to help out CJ Stroud. We have two good receivers that are here. Here's the question. Do you invest into a slot receiver as an undrafted free agent, or do you keep Rondale Moore here? That's the other question, because he was on a 1-year deal, got put on injured reserve because he blew out his knee. Now, Ray McCloud was good, but I feel like we can get better at that slot position. That's just my opinion. You can disagree with me, it's fine. But I think we can go a little bit better in that slot position and bring in a little bit more production. The other thing I'll say is we got to also look at possibly, no, y'all aren't going to like it, but it's already smoke and it's already a story. Kyle Pitts could possibly be going to Washington, Cincinnati as takers. Those are two teams that would need a tight end at this point. For me, if you get rid of Kyle Pitts, you got to go ahead and get this kid named Fannin out of Bowling Green. Got to watch him. He was literally snubbed in the John Mackey Award this year because of the kid from Penn State. The kid from Penn State was a beast, but he still didn't have as many touchdowns as this guy. And the numbers were up and down, but they gave it to a big school guy. They weren't going to give it to a small school guy. So I'm okay with it. Bring in Fannin for me if you get rid of a Kyle Pitts. That kid there is a monster. And if you want to go in the slot, Jimmy Horn Jr., I'm with you on that. That is another option that you can have. But as I said before, we've got to hope that this scouting department does its due diligence. It's a lot of issues in this front office. The question is, can the Falcons fix that? Or are they going to go ahead and continue doing business as usual, Falcons being Falcons? So we will see what happens this offseason. But I just wanted to stop in and do a little bumper to bumper with you. I appreciate you guys for taking the time out and coming through, saying what's up to myself. My man Scoop came through today. He hollered at us, gave us a little insight of what he was thinking and what he felt on it. Look, you want more of this insight? We got you on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. on YouTube, X, and other streaming platform services that we're a part of. Check out the Birdcage LLC. You either get right or you get left. Check us out. Check us out next week because we have Hall of Fame basketball shooting guard Bob Dandridge coming through. Two-time NBA champ, NBA All-Star, HBCU Hall of Famer, and definitely got some great stories about playing with Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, he's played with so many of the greats, and he's going to talk about that with us next week. So, like we say here, you either get right or you get left. You got right, so I'm going to go ahead and get left. I'll catch y'all Thursday at 8 p.m. with the Magnificent Birdcage crew. Peace.